Welcome to What is Good, a podcast from the Texas Baptist Christian Life Commission, where we explore contemporary cultural issues through a biblical lens. Micah 6:8 says that God has told us what is good, that we're to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with Him. So whether you're seeking a better understanding of how to live that out, or you're just curious to understand a Christian perspective of what's happening in our culture, we hope that you'll find today's conversation helpful as we discuss what is good.
Hello and welcome to another episode of What is Good, the podcast of the Christian Life Commission. I'm your Associate Director, Dr. David Sanchez, here again today. I'm with our Director, Dr. Katie Fruget. How are you today, Katie?
Hello, I am well, thank you.
And it is just the two of us. I don't know why that started turning into a song, but I don't want to get copyright struck. So I backed off halfway through.
Smooth.
We're in a good mood because we've already been having a great conversation. You can hear some of it in the outtakes with two other people from Texas Baptist. I think this is our first time to have other staff on to talk about stuff that they do. We want to be doing this in the future, but we're super excited about this one because it really does overlap with things we care about and things we've talked about on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so first let's introduce Jennifer Howington. Could you tell us your name and your position within Texas Baptist and what it is that you do?
Yes, be happy to. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm glad to be here. My name is Jennifer Howington, and I think I have one of the longest titles here at Texas Baptist.
They are getting better and at making longer titles for us.
They are. I think Jonathan Smith has me beat now, but yes, I have one of the longer titles, and it does fit on my business card and my name badge, so I'm good to go. But my official title is Associate Director of Discipleship and Next Gen and Childhood Ministry Specialist. So that involves all things preschool children's ministry, special needs ministry, and essentially all of Next Gen. So I love what we get to do here.
Yeah. My memory of you is first week on the job, you were already like doing a workshop. And was this like right at the end of COVID? And I don't think I'd done anything but Zoom meetings and Zoom up to that point. And I was like, I've got to up my game because this lady hit the ground running, and I don't know that I've met anyone in person. So I was super impressed with your work ethic, and it legit did challenge me to get out there in the field.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for saying that.
And would you like to introduce our other guests that you know her better than we do?
Yes. So my assistant is Sarah Johnson. She's my partner in crime here on the discipleship team, and we do lots of fun stuff together. We always say we get to do this job, and we really mean that. And so, Sarah, if you want to share your official title, she has a long title as well, because that's what we do around here.
We should do an inventory of people's titles and see who actually has the longest.
Is it the assistant too, and then all of Jennifer's title, kind of like a office situation there?
Not quite. Officially, I'm the ministry program coordinator for childhood discipleship and ministry assistant for discipleship and Next Gen.
Oh my gosh.
It's a long title.
It does not all fit on my name badge.
I love it. So basically what I'm hearing is a lot of different hats that complement one another in a lot of different, interesting, unique ways.
Right.
Yeah, good summation. What is it that you're here to talk to us about today?
So thank you for your gracious invitation to let us talk about one of our favorite ministries that we do here at Texas Baptist, and that is our Special Friends Retreat.
Yeah, and as soon as I heard about this, because I did not know about this until, 3 weeks ago? And as soon as you said what it was, I was like, oh my goodness, we've got to have you on our podcast to talk about this. So tell us what this special needs retreat is.
Yes, so this is a retreat for individuals with disabilities and their families, caretakers, guardians, parents, and it's just a time for our campers to come and just experience worship and just to it all be about them, if I can say it that way. It's really a retreat about them. And it is something that is growing. We have historically started with 2 retreats that we had, one in West Texas, one in the Metroplex area. And since working together with Sarah and I, we now have 4 that we do. And we're finding partnerships with churches who are doing special needs ministry well and actually hosting these retreats on a one-day basis at the church. And so I love seeing how we can impact our communities and actually be there and partner with our churches.
Yeah, that's so cool. I do want us to get into just the importance of special needs ministry and some of those questions, but I just wanted us, to hear up top about the retreat itself, because that is just so cool. And I'd like to hear more details about what goes on at those retreats and what people get to experience and all that.
Yeah. At our retreats, we focus on worship and Bible study. Those are the primary things that we do. So we always begin the retreat with a time of worship. We have some great worship leaders that come in, and they know all of our campers' favorite songs. There's a lot of "Lord, I Lift Your Name on High."
Yay, it's old school.
Yeah, and we all gather together and we worship, and to see the way that we worship at Special Friends, where nobody's worried about what the person next to you is doing, or who's looking at you and who's watching you. It's really the purest worship that I get to see each year. And then we have a camp pastor that shares from God's Word with us, and then we break off into Bible study groups by churches. And so during the Bible study time, it's kind of like mini VBS. And so everything is geared towards our campers' ability levels. And so we have Bible stories, we do crafts, we play games, we learn verses. And our campers, they just love this time that's poured into them. We have leaders that will, bring costumes, and everybody gets to act out the Bible story. Or they'll bring all kinds of craft things, and everybody makes a bag to take all their stuff home in. And we just have a lot of fun with that. And then we usually have a craft of some kind that everybody gets to make that fits with our theme. But the biggest part of our retreat, and everybody's favorite part, is our talent show. We always have a talent show where either church groups or individuals can come and share their talent, because God gives every person. And so some people sing, some people dance, some people do sign language. We have friends that recite scripture. But it's a time that we worship together through celebrating each other's talents and the gifts that God has given them. And so that's just a snapshot of what we do at each retreat. And so Mount Lebanon, our retreat here in the Metroplex, that's overnight. And so we get a bit more time with all of this. But even at our one-day retreats, we still have Bible study, worship, and the talent show.
As people who have listened to the show will probably remember, I have 2 children with special needs, and one of them has intellectual disabilities as well. And I think that she would really enjoy getting to attend one of these at some point. But just hearing you describe the day and the event, one of the things that stands out to me as a mother, listening to it kind of with my mom ears on, thinking about my child going through it, one of the things I so appreciate about it is there are so many times, especially individuals with intellectual disabilities, who really are trying to navigate the world, trying to fit into a world that's just really hard for them, that the world maybe wasn't really made with them in mind. And so I just think of how beautiful it is for them to be able to have a space where the world was created with them in mind, that all the activities were created with them as the end in sight, instead of them having to come in and mask or try to fit in the situation. And maybe they can, maybe they're very capable of doing that. That's my daughter. She's in 4th grade, or she just finished 4th grade. I guess we're a 5th grader now. But, she spends the majority of her time fitting in and following her classroom, and she's able to do that. But there's just something beautiful about being able to just kind of take a breath and just be met where she's at. And when she's had the opportunity to be in situations like that, you can just really see it's validating for her to feel seen, that it validates her as a person and where she's at and meeting her in that moment. So I just love that that's a component to the ministry itself, that it is created. Jennifer, I think you said it's all about them. It's celebrating and focusing them. And I just want to pause and just reflect as a parent to say how empowering that is, because that is not the lived experience day in and day out of so many people who are living with disability.
And at our retreats, our campers don't only get to take a breath, but their parents and caregivers do too.
Oh, blessed.
We involve activities for parents and caregivers. We have some support group times where parents
Wow.
and caregivers come together and they share their experiences. Sometimes we have speakers that come in to provide resources, but we give them a moment to step away as well, and have that time where
That's
they know that
huge.
their children are safe and are learning in the way they learn best.
Which is so validating too, because especially if you have a child with a more medically complex or issues like that, sometimes there really is a safety issue of, am I even able to put my guard down enough to be ministered to if I'm worried that my child's physical safety might be in jeopardy? And so that's another ministry even in and of itself, of giving people the opportunity to put their guard down, to be able to know that their children will be safe. And so I can be ministered to in this moment. That's so frequently something overlooked, is just the caregivers and the needs that they have, that the unique challenges that we experience that probably aren't thought of. And so just giving that opportunity, I think it's C.S. Lewis that says, a friend is made, where you have that thought, what, you too? I thought I was the only one. Giving people space to ask that question.
Right.
Yeah. Along those themes, we do have a podcast episode. I think it's episode 12, where we do talk about dignity and disability. But with you two here, it's hard not to just go back and dive back into all those questions and maybe get a refresher course. I feel like we'll have some interesting and more unique perspectives on this. So it could be good to go back and dive into these. So a question which you gave us to ask, and I'm happy to ask it, which is just like, why is a special needs ministry important? Like, why should a church even consider this as one aspect of their ministry when there's already so much to prioritize and already so much to do and already so many plates spinning?
Well, we believe that every person is created in God's image, right? Every person. And so every person is capable of a relationship with God, and they deserve a place where they can encounter God in the way that they're going to encounter him best. My relationship with God does not look like yours. And it's the same thing with our friends. Their relationship with God may look different, but it's still vital for them. And so over the years, just working with our friends at our retreats, seeing how they encounter God in their own way has been such an amazing thing. And it's helped me as a believer to understand more just how big God is and how we all encounter him differently. And so because we're all made in God's image and we're all capable of that relationship, everyone needs a place in our churches. I was looking over some demographic reports recently, and it was just a small group. It was 7. But on these 7 reports of neighborhoods within 10 minutes of a church, 18 to 29% of families had at least one member of their family with a disability. And those people aren't in our churches. It's, there's some that would say that this is one of the biggest unreached people groups in our country, are people with disabilities, because parents might not feel safe coming and leaving their child. They might not feel that there's a place for their child, or they've been turned away. There's so many barriers for special needs families. And so when we have special needs ministry in our churches and a place for these families to be welcome, for their children to be safe, whether those are children or whether they're adult children, a place where they can be safe and where they can learn and encounter God, it opens so many doors to families around our churches.
I echo the research that Sarah shared. I too have read some, and it says nearly 1 billion people around the world have a disability.
Wow.
And that's 1 in 3 households in our communities, and 1 in 6 children, according to the CDC. So, we can't look at it and say, oh, they're not at our church, so they must not be in our community. They are in every community. Everybody's affected by it at some point. And so I believe it's up to the church to be a reflection of our community. And so if we don't have a special needs ministry, we need to be postured for one, because maybe they don't come because there's nothing there for them. And so it's up to us to offer something. So, many individuals and families that live with disability, they struggle with loneliness, isolation, judgment, and it's very difficult for them. And so I think if we are intentional with our ministries and we go the extra mile and create that safe space like we do at Special Friends Retreat, that safe space to know, my child is going to be taken care of, and it's not a burden, it's a joy.
Yes.
And Scripture tells us that in 1 Corinthians 12, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable.
Yeah.
And I feel like our families with special needs are indispensable. We're missing out on the part of the body of Christ when we don't
Yes.
allow them to be a part of who we are as a congregation. So,
Jennifer and Kate, well, I'll ask all of you this, but as someone who, within my own family, I haven't encountered people with disabilities, maybe extended family, but I hardly ever see them. I've never experienced what it's like to come into a church with a member of my family with me having a disability. And you say that they sometimes feel judged. The unseen and the unsafe, I understand. I'm trying to wrap my mind about what is it about the experience that would make someone feel judged for coming into a church while having a child with a disability or a sibling with a disability?
I think so quickly people see the behavior, and sometimes the behavior doesn't meet expectations of what church should be. And that's where we need to open our hearts, and say, this individual is worshiping in the way that they worship, and that's not wrong, and we need to open our hearts. So that's what I mean when I say judgment. It's like not everything fits in a box, and we need to be okay with that.
Yeah, even from my own experience, my daughter sometimes, if she's really into it or following along, she's going to make a loud noise. She's nonverbal, but she can make noises with her mouth. And so just even allowing there to be space for her to maybe make noises during the sermon because she's excited, or maybe make, kind of what could be considered maybe distracting sounds during the worship. But for us, she's making a joyful noise unto the Lord. She's trying to fully participate in it. But there have been times that even my family's experienced just the judgy looks, turning around, why are you still in there? That the expectation that you should take them out when they're being disruptive versus seeing her as someone who's fully participating in the worship experience. Even just this last Easter, if I can share a personal story of my daughter. So she's 11 years old. She's nonverbal, but she started looking around it on Easter Sunday. We were in church and people were worshiping, and there were some people who had their hands up worshiping. And so she's kind of singing a monkey see, monkey do. So she's like, well, this is how we worship. And so not only does she put her hands up, one of her favorite things to do is to point at people and invite them to come do something. So she started pointing at people, and she was going making her hand go back and forth as in, come worship with me, put your hand up. And she was calling out different people, inviting them. And I'm so thankful that we live in a church that allows for space like that, because I'll tell you, that's not the experience that so many have, where they would say you need to get them out of there because that's distracting, versus saying this is a child fully participating in worship and she is welcome to be here.
Right. Some of the churches, that we work with that are doing this well, have really embraced it as a culture, a holistic approach for the church, to where special needs ministry is not just that one classroom that they go to and they're not seen. That's not special needs ministry. Special needs ministry is inviting them into all these spaces, letting them be greeters. We have if I could share a story of an individual.
Yes, share all the stories. Everybody could share stories.
Don't we, Sarah? We have so many. But we have a West Texas church that has an individual with a disability, and he is constantly at the door greeting. That's just his heart. He wants to see people. He wants to say hello. And so the mother goes to that church as well. And one day they approached the mother and they said, we want to, talk to your family. And his name is Victor. We want to just have a meeting with you. And she thought maybe they were just going to recognize and give him a gift card or something special. But they said, we see the servant heart in your son, and we want him to be a deacon of our church.
Oh, I just got chills.
Yes. And he went through the whole process, and he's a part of the deacon body. And they have what's, I think Sarah helped me with, the widow's banquet, where each of the deacons contributes money towards the widows that come to this banquet. And Victor saved his money. He only gets a certain allowance every week, and he saved his money and did his part as a deacon. And it just was so affirming to us to say, okay, this is a good example of a church who is fully embracing every member of the body of Christ and allowing them to serve out of the abundance of their heart.
Jennifer, what you're describing so perfectly aligns with something that I have said over and over again in different platforms and opportunities, is that we need to really transform our view of disability and stop viewing individuals with disability as objects of our ministry, but individuals who have ministry to give us as well, that we need their ministry just as much as they need ours. And that full inclusion, like when we can change that mind and really start viewing it from that perspective, I think that's where you see stories like that are so beautiful and transformative. And like, I'm like fighting back tears thinking about him serving as a deacon right now, but it's just beautiful because I think that's what God always intended.
When we look at some of the behaviors that families feel judged for and look at those as ways that individuals can serve, like that person that talks to every person, in the church on a Sunday morning. We had a friend like that at my home church. That's an excellent greeter and a way that they can serve. The person who has to have everything in their place, that's a characteristic on some of our neurodivergent friends. That's someone that can help you keep your room organized, and that's a way that they can serve. And so taking those behaviors that seem challenging and looking at them as a gift, and the way that God has gifted that individual for service, is a great way to involve our friends in more than just, okay, well, here's your Sunday school class, and this is your place. It lets them be a full part of the church.
I just want to say, any other stories? Just more stories, but so this is, you're kind of giving some of the how a church can do this, but I would say in a more broader general sense, like how would you describe the characteristics of these churches that are leading well in regard to the family and special needs ministries?
Yes. Thank you for asking that. Like I said, it's a holistic approach. It is, and a lot of times, the ones that are successful, the pastor is the champion. I see that a lot, and when the pastor champions that, it's like the whole church can embrace it as well. And it's just, we have disabilities of all ages. We can't just compartmentalize it to children's ministry. What do? We have to grow that ministry with the child. We have to have pathways for them as in youth ministry. What are their needs as a student, as a youth? What does that mean for adults? And the churches that are doing that well are, one, they're intentional. They really look to see the needs of that person and that child and grow with that ministry. But also they're intentional with the families. They don't neglect the families, the siblings, the parents that need resources, that just need acceptance, And so, it's just being intentional on the front end, being proactive and not just responding and saying, oh, we don't know what to do. Have a plan, create a sensory room, that you will need and use later. Create a pathway for this child that's going to one day be a teenager, that'll be an adult, where will they have community and what will that look like? And so it takes the whole church. And volunteers are some of the hardest with any ministry. It's hard with preschool children's ministry, but with special needs ministry as well. But there are guaranteed people in your church who will have a heart for this, who will embrace it and champion it, and just really make it a whole culture. We have a church that we work with, and they call it their Forever Friends. And they go on mission trips. They come to business meetings. They're part of every part of the church. They are not left out of anything. And so I think when we look at it, like Sarah said, looking at their abilities, not their disability, they are contributors. They want to contribute. So let's open those doors pretty wide for them so that can happen.
That's good. One characteristic I've also seen of some churches, as I've just had the opportunity to travel around the state, is just a willingness to say, let's just try something. Let's open the doors and let's just try to be creative. We don't have something right now. Let's try to figure out how can we have something. I think of a church who they started something, and through just being willing to explore, the church members found that this is something they cared about. Like Jennifer said, volunteers are hard, but you won't know if this is something you really care about if you don't have the opportunity to explore that there could be passions and burdens even in the church community that's laying just dormant because they haven't had the opportunity to flex those muscles before. And so even just trusting that if this is a need that the body has, that the Spirit will give the giftings to meet the need, right? So just even being willing to explore that and let the Holy Spirit show up, give the gifts necessary to meet the need of the community, to fulfill that bodily need. It's exciting when you have a church that's willing to do that.
I had a church reach out to me a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, that did that very thing. They just said, we want a special needs ministry, but we don't know what to do. Can you help? And I love those questions because the door was wide open. What sparked that was they had a child who they invited to read scripture, and he has autism. And he got up on stage and spoke and read the scripture, and everybody just fell in love with him. And so that pastor just had that burden. And so I connected him with other pastors who were doing this well. And he started this whole ministry. He calls it Jewels of the Kingdom, and just acknowledging their precious value and their contribution to the church. And so I love that when I see that spark. And you're right. It's not, you don't have to know how to do it. Just be a willingness to take that first step. That's what this pastor said. He's like, church, we're taking that first step. We don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do it, and we're going to move forward. And I thought it was very sweet that they invited Texas Baptist to be a part of that process with them.
That's cool. So would the first step be to contact you guys? Like, how does a church become involved in the special needs ministry? It sounds like something that could very easily, once you start thinking logistics, become overwhelming, and then you just back away from it. So where's the hopeful first step?
That's a good question. Yes, they could start with us, certainly. I mean, we don't know all the answers, but we know how to connect people. I think we're connectors, and I think when you're wanting to start a ministry, talking with someone who's a lot further down the road than you can give you hope and encouragement and can walk alongside you. So we are certainly able to connect you with partners. And the Special Friends Retreat experience is another way to partner. And Sarah and I have access to groups that do training, so we could connect with that as well. So yes, there's a lot out there, a lot more than you think.
I think it's just being willing to step out and try. At my church, we had a high schooler who God had put this on her heart, and so she made it into a project with a group that she's in, and she came up with intake forms and built a sensory room in one of our classrooms. And she's around every Sunday in case there is someone who needs a buddy. And she's always ready to step in. But for her, it was God put this on her heart, and so she decided she was going to try. And it has been such a blessing for us. So it's taking that step of faith and being courageous and just trying something that God lays on your heart. That's so good.
And Sarah, you said something that triggered a thought in my mom brain, because I'm kind of listening to this with two hats on today. So I flip back and forth. But one thing I would also just add for the churches that are on the fence or maybe are open to it, but there's some real maybe hesitancy or fear. There sometimes can be a bit of a misnomer that children who are medically fragile or complex are easily broken. And so the fear is I don't want to hurt them more, and so I'm afraid to do anything. I would just encourage everyone to just remember these are some of the most resilient kids of all time. I mean, just the things that they have gone through. It's hard to break them. I can say that. You can have honest conversations with the family about best ways to keep them safe and making sure that they're in a good environment that helps make sure that they're supported and have what they need. But man, these are kids that are hard to break, and they are so resilient. And even if something doesn't go perfectly, that's not the first time it has happened to the family. I can assure you that. And the family is also resilient. It's more just wanting to have a posture of saying, we are committed to figuring this out. And we want to journey with you if you're willing to journey with us. We realizing you might stub your toe occasionally, but it's the commitment to, we want to love on this individual, or we want to love on this family, and we want to change the culture of our church, and not being afraid of what could be to prevent you from doing what should be.
A reoccurring theme I'm hearing is that it sounds like the special needs ministry is more than just ministry to the people with special needs. It's to their families and caregivers and siblings. I'm curious, like, what does ministry look like towards the siblings of a kid with special needs? Like, what are the things that they would be going through
question.
that you would
I love
thank
that.
you? And how could we encourage them? Because okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that is a great question, and that's something that we can't neglect. I mean, those siblings probably, may not get as much attention. Maybe there's more attention for that child that has medical issues and things that, need prompt attention. And so, just giving them a space to where they can be who they are outside of being the brother or the sister of, the one with the disability. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a holistic approach again. It's seeing everybody in that family and what their needs are. My daughter has Crohn's disease, and she has an invisible disability. So you can't tell on the outside that she struggles. And I just think of the ways that, the church reached my family when we were going through that initial diagnosis.
Wow.
My husband and I were trying to figure out what her needs were at the time, and how do you communicate when on the outside she looks fine, but on the inside she's struggling. And I'll never forget our youth minister, reached out to us, and, she was getting infusions for, medicine, and he just came and sat with us at the hospital, but didn't forget our son in the process, was inclusive of him as well, to say, I see you too. I'm giving my attention to your sister right now who has a need, but I see you too. And so it's just being mindful and being intentional and inclusive.
I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but one guy confessed that as a kid, he pretended he was colorblind because his brother had epilepsy. And it was like he wanted to have something as well to be able to get the attention from the parents. I think that's a good reminder to us that sometimes, like, you want the person with the disability to feel seen, but that sometimes that neglect
not
of others,
at the expense.
not at the expense of others, then feeling less seen or feeling,
And I would also just add that the siblings of these individuals as well are incredible humans, that the Lord has just cultivated such a tender, compassionate heart within them. That's my experience, that so many of these siblings are just by nature so inclusive, so empathetic, so caring. Their tolerance for just different is high. And so, their tolerance for bullies, their tolerance for people being cruel or not understanding, there's, it's just incredible. I see that even in my 5-year-old, when she had a friend come over for a play date, and I hadn't thought to prepare the other little 5-year-old with her mom about my middle daughter. And so when she's at home, she doesn't use her wheelchair. She prefers to crawl around, and she still uses some diapers. And so the 5-year-old just was peppering her with questions. Why is she doing this? And why is she doing this? And it was a little comical to me that my 5-year-old was just like, get over it already. Like, she's just different. Okay, let's go play Barbies. And it was this funny, the 5-year-old was just asking honest questions, but it was just so telling to me to realize that my daughter is growing up in a world where disability is so normalized that she's going to be an incredible champion for people around her when she sees them being peppered with the questions. And I just love the idea of these super siblings who are willing to just come in and be like get over it, guys. Like if people are being cruel or asking unfair questions and things like this. And so the siblings play a huge role. And I love the character development that just growing up with a sibling like that grows within the neurotypical or the neuro or the physically normal child. So
Yes. That's beautiful.
Well, this has been such a good discussion. I do want to bring it back to the Special Friends Retreat because I want our listeners to be able to know how to learn about the dates for those, how to sign up for those, and be involved and get more information. So how would they go about that?
Yes, so we are in the process of planning and securing those dates. So you can go to our website at txb.org/specialfriends. To see those dates and to register when registration opens up. Our first retreat will be early October. That's the one in the Metroplex, October 3rd and 4th at Mount Lebanon Baptist Encampment. Mm-hmm. So that is a secure date that we have right now. But I would also like to note, how supported this ministry is. I love how Texas Baptist fully embraces this. This is something that I never have trouble getting volunteers for. Every phone call, I was wondering when you were going to call me because I want to do this, sign me up for next year. I never have trouble getting help. But also through your contributions to our cooperative program, the Mary Hill Davis offering, and Texas Baptist Missions Foundation, that funding, we receive funding from them through your contributions. So that's another way you can participate. If you're not participating in the retreats itself or you're not coming, you can participate financially and through prayer. So we appreciate all the opportunities you give us to serve and to serve well.
Jennifer, could you speak to who is eligible to attend the Special Friends Retreat? What's the age range?
Good question, yeah.
Capabilities? Yeah.
Great question. Yes. So 12 years and above. Okay. So primarily the retreats are adults. We do have a couple of children who come, but the age ranges starts at 12 is our preference. Yes.
And are there nurses on the campus as well who are able to assist with, whatever the needs might be? Or what does that look like? I'm thinking through logistically. These are my selfish questions.
Yes. Yes, a nurse is at every location. So this is also for our campers to come, but also parents can come. So we offer sessions for parents, just kind of support sessions where we talk through things. And, we have parents and guardians who have lived this life for a while and know where the resources are and know how to help, and some that are just beginning their journey. And so we like to partner them together and just create a special time of respite for them too. Like you said, to know that their child is in a safe place and that they are being loved on and cared for and just encouraged. And so, yes, logistically, so we do background checks on all of our volunteers, so everybody's screened. We do have a nurse on site at all times. We try to keep it low cost. The cost is very minimal, to be honest, and that's due to the fact that we do receive generous funding from Mary Hill Davis Cooperative Program and Texas Baptist Mission Foundation. So very low cost. We do provide food and crafts and all the things that they would need. So very well supported.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about Special Friends or about your ministry before we go on to our final question?
We would love for folks to be involved. Call us if you have a heart for this ministry. We'd love to talk to you more about it.
Yeah, and you told them the link, but we'll also include it in our show notes.
Mm-hmm. And if you could include our email addresses too, we would love to receive those emails and be able to communicate.
And you guys are on our Texas Baptist website as well.
Yes.
Well, we do like to end our podcast by asking our question, which is also the name of our podcast, what is good? And sharing other good things that are going on. Although, as I said in a part that we've edited out, you've already blown the top off the wholesome meter. So we've already been talking so much about what is good. And I just have a big smile on my face and in my heart. But let's go around and just other ways. How do you see the Lord working? What's going on, the goodness in your lives and in our churches, and what is good? Katie, you can go first and lead by example for them.
Well, my what is good, I just feel like I have to say something about my daughter Lissy because I've talked about her so much. And so my what is good, I'm just going to say is my daughter Lissy. And she just got her second big girl haircut. And so thankful. Our hairdresser, Casey, is incredible. She is also a fellow mom of special needs. She has 2 children with Down syndrome. And
wow.
She just gets it. And part of her ministry and way that she loves is she loves to give haircuts to individuals who are neurodivergent. Sometimes sitting still can be a bit of a challenge. And for many, many years, I tried to give her my haircut myself. I would turn on a TV and did my best. And she's just gotten so much older and bigger. It's just kind of beyond my skill set. I'm good at a lot of things, but haircutting, her hair is thick and long. And so, it was the most joyful experience. I didn't know what it was going to look like walking into it, but Lissy was beaming the entire time. She loved it when Casey curled her hair. We gave her the option at the very end. She just got a little trim. And then Casey asked her, do you want us to curl your hair or do you want it straight? And she immediately pointed to the curling iron. And she's like, oh no, give me the cool girl hair. And she just was so proud of her hair that day. Girls, when you're feeling like you're having the good hair day, and Lissy just clearly was having her good hair day, and she came home and she wanted her dad to see it, and it was just really joyful, and I'm just so thankful for that and that fun memory, and for our beautiful hairdresser, Casey, who makes a ministry of wanting to help an 11-year-old little girl have a haircut and feel beautiful for the day.
That is so cool. All right, Sarah Jennifer, who wants to go next?
I'll go next. So I'd love to talk about my children as well. So my husband and I just graduated our youngest child. So our son graduated from high school. We're about to be empty nesters.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Okay, hold on. Because I follow you on social, did he really moonwalk?
He did.
Across the stage at graduation? I need clarification.
He did, and I may have fed that obsession with Michael Jackson because I bought him black pants with the silver sequin stripe on the
love
leg.
it.
And he wore that for graduation, and I knew he was thinking about it, but I'm like, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. And when I saw him in the audience, before they all went up on stage, he did this double thumbs up, with this big smile on his face. I'm like, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. And sure enough, he did.
I love it so much.
That's our claim to fame. Our son can moonwalk to get his diploma. I don't know if I was more proud of him getting the diploma or moonwalking. Maybe a little bit.
It's a toss-up, really. Both are major accomplishments.
Yes, definitely. How about you, Sarah? What is good?
So my what is good is my niece Callie. I have to give a shout out to my niece my nephew Parker too, because we can't leave him out. But Callie is about to turn 4. Aww. And her wholehearted belief that her Aunt Sarah can do anything she asks. I was talking to her Sunday night, and she said, Aunt Sarah, I want a lemonade stand for my birthday. And I thought, well, I'll see what I can do. And her dad was looking at me like, she wants a what? But she fully believes that I can deliver on a lemonade stand for her birthday, and I will.
There will be a lemonade stand.
I have already found one.
Okay, I was like, if you need help, we will get this lemonade stand. I love that.
Depending on how it turns out, are we going to see it on Etsy as well? Like, can other people get in on this lemonade stand action?
I may have already found one somewhere that I don't have to make.
Okay.
I can make one, but we're not. She lives too far away for that. It has to be shipped.
Okay.
Oh, that's so awesome.
David, what is good for you?
This is a weird one, but homeowners insurance?
Hashtag adult.
The hail that we've been having.
We live in DFW and we've got some crazy weather, haven't we?
We've had some damage to our roof that I didn't know about it because the expert that I just stepped outside and looked at my roof from below and was like, it's still there. I think we're okay. But I have a church friend who does roofing, and he texted me right after the storm and was like, hey, storm went by. I'm going to come and check out your roof. And then he got on my roof while I wasn't at home, started taking pictures, and walked me through the entire insurance claim process. And so it's not just that, we live in a country where we have fallbacks on our fallbacks on our fallbacks before we'd ever really hit rock bottom. For many of us, we just live in that luxury that we don't even realize it so much how good we have it. But then do have a church on top of that with people within it who care about me and my family and take the initiative to reach out. And it's just God saying, hey, I've got you, through the literal storms of life. I'm going to be there.
The hailstorms of life.
Yes. We went through hail and God was with us. That's a paraphrase of Psalm 23, I believe. So that's my what is good. Good church friends looking out for me and homeowners insurance.
I love it. So good.
Well, thank you guys so much. You are setting the bar really high for any other Texas Baptists that we have on the podcast. We're going to make them listen to you first and then be like, you better bring it, because y'all did such a good job sharing with us about the importance of special needs ministry and about the Special Friends Retreat, which the more I hear about it, the more excited I get about what it is that y'all do. And that's just one aspect of your ministry, right? Like we could easily have you back on to talk about other aspects of your ministry.
Yeah.
Well, we'd love to have you come as a guest to Special Friends this year, so consider this an invitation.
Yes.
Yay!
I'd already written it down for my calendar. So
Good.
definitely will. Well, thank you all so much, and thank everyone for listening. And I sometimes say we'll see you next time, but this is an audio medium only, so you'll hear us next time.
Until then.
Until then. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Typing on this, it's really heavy, like the thing itself, so it sits nicely, and typing on it is like just typing on a fluffy cloud. It just, like if you do a lot of typing, it really saves your fingers.
Yeah. I think that's why I like the Mac keyboards. I've been typing on a Mac for over 10 years, and when I type on my computer, the one at home or at the office, it just I don't like it.
Yeah.
Feels like I'm typing on a fat keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Macs too. I'm the same.
Yes.
And I have a cover over mine that makes it extra soft. And so I feel very productive when I type. It's like,
I do too.
I type.
Welcome to I Type, the podcast of the Christian Life Commission, where we talk about our favorite
How do you
keyboards.
type? What's your type? Hey!
Do you use homerow keys?
I'm actually quite fast at typing when I want to be.
That's awesome. So I have a confession here. So I took typing in high school as well. Mm-hmm. My freshman year, I was like the star pupil that I went to UIL in typing and got my letter jacket.
That is so cool. Okay, now
so
we need
serious.
to see you typing in action.
Here we are trying to brag on ourselves. We got a pro. Did you enter the portal? Like, did you go to another school as a pro typer?
No, I have all these trophies. Yeah, I was
typing.
Yeah, in typing. I was a superstar. My typing teacher, I was her star pupil.
I love that so much. That is the best about me. What is that? 2 truths and a lie? That's the best one I've ever heard.
That is, yeah.